So I picked part number 6, which is 6 and 7, and they're going to be 19.5 inches and then 13 inches. So I'll start by squaring up the end. Mark off my 19.5. I'll go ahead and make this cut. Mark off my 13. Cut this one out. Okay, well this is parts number 8. There's 2 of them. I'm going to gang cut them as well, and they're going to be 27 inches long. Okay, here's another gang cut. These are 9 and 10. So there'll be 2 of each, 18 and 7/8 and 12 inches. This is part 11, 2 of those. They're 13.5 inches long. This is the one that I made a mistake in my layout on that just happened to be okay. I just need to knock this corner off right here and these will be finished. Okay, these are the last pieces. There's 8 of these. These are actually going to be face glued together to make up the legs. So I'll face glue and clamp all these up and get them dry, and then I'll cut them off to length. But they are going to be 41 inches long. Well, here's a quick shot of what constitutes all the pieces they're going to make up the stand and the feed table. Some folks may be asking why I'm doubling up these to make legs, and the main reason is I wanted to use as much of this sheet good up as possible because I don't want waste 3/4 MDF around. The last piece I had was 10 years old, so I don't use 3/4 that often. So I wanted to minimize anything that I would need to keep in scrap, and that also drives my cost down as opposed to buying dimensional lumber and having waste here. And this little pile of business right here is all the waste. Okay, well here's a quick shot of the glue up. I just slathered glue on a face of each piece and then folded them together, clamped them all up. I'm gonna let this dry and then they'll be cut to length later. Alright, well here's a quick shot of the 4 legs. After the glue dried, I cut them to length, which they were 41 inches. Okay, well here's my first dry fit. I'm going to have to doctor a lot of these pieces. I was just kind of laying it out to see where I was going, and it is flipped upside down right now. So just to make note of the pieces we're using number 4, which is the actual tabletop, number 5 twice on either side. Number 7 is this piece right here. Number 10 are these 2 pieces right here. And number 8 are these 2. So one thing I am going to do is I need to glue these 2 together, and then I'm going to change their dimension a little bit. And then once that's complete, that will be glued to this right here, and then this will be put on as one unit. These are just sitting in there as props, and then these runners will go across here, and some of this will be glued and some of it will not be glued, and I'll go over those joints as I get to them. So I'm going to start laying out my hole pattern on the top, because I need to pre-drill all the holes to start putting these sides on, as well as I need to make some holes in these sides. So I'll go through things one step at a time as I get there. I'm kind of making it up now as I go. Well, alright, I told you I didn't leave any margin for error, and I made an error. I made a mistake. I already shot this clip once, so I'm going to shoot it again and lead up to my mistake. It's now at the point where everything is going to kind of become directional. It needs to be in a certain way. So these two spaces here with the gap, or the side with the gap, this is in essence the front. So I just have an arrow with an F right here indicating the front. These side pieces here are also going to be directional, so I have an arrow pointing up to this, and that's the way they will lay on. The back piece is irrelevant. On both sides in that back corner over there, there's a hole, a 3/8 inch hole that I've already pierced, and that's where I messed up when I was shooting my video. I took that out, I looked at it, and I gave the wrong dimensions. That hole is supposed to be 1 3/4 inches up from the base and 2.5 inches in from the end of this piece. I didn't allow for my 3/4 inch right there, and I put a hole 1 3/4 and 1 3/4. So you can see my boo-boo. I've got this right at 1 3/4, but I came in 1 3/4. It should have been 2.5, somewhere around in this arena. So I'm not sure if I'm going to pierce a hole next to this one, or if I'll just flip it around and have an ugly hole in the front. You know, this is a utility. You know, it's for servicing a tool, but I try to make things right anyway. So I want to be clear on that. 2.5 inches in from the end to allow for that 3/4. That'll put that on 1 3/4 from that 3/4, and then 1 3/4 up. Alright, well I have my holes pierced. This is what it's supposed to look like now. I've got 1 3/4 to this center and 1 3/4 from the bottom up to this center of this bolt. These are going to be where the legs attach, and they are going to pivot and fold up. Okay, here's my next step before I can start marking out and countersinking holes. I've taken this 13-inch piece and cut it in half to 6.5 inches right there and made a mark. This is 21 inches wide, so I've made a mark right here on the end at 10.5. And I'm just simply lining these two pieces up where they're going to eventually be and making a mark at the end of each side of it. Just like that. And I'll transfer these around. That way when I mark out my holes, I know where to start my end screws. Alright, well here's a shot of the layout for the long sides. The other side will be exactly the same. All these marks are made 3/8 of an inch in from the edge. And starting from the back, I'm just going to tell you the measurements down its length. So we're at 1 inch in, we're at 7 5/8, we're at 14 1/4, 20 7/8, and 27 1/2. And like I said, the other side will be the same. Alright, well here's my layout for my screw holes on the back. You can see my Fat Max finally died today. I'm kind of upset about that. I have to get another one. Anyway, so from this side, I'm going to give you the layout lines. It's 1 3/4, 6 1/8, 10 1/2, 14 7/8, and 19 1/4. And these again are 3/8 inch in. And on the front side, there are only 3 that are in here because we have those gaps. So it's going to come in 5 inches, 10 1/2, and 16. And those again are 3/8 of an inch in. So now I'm at the point where I'm going to pre-drill all these holes and countersink them. Then I'll clamp the pieces on and I'll run the same countersink down in there to finish piercing the hole. It's just the way I like to do it. It's easier to clean things out that way. Alright, well I'm ready to start piercing some holes. I'm using a countersinking bit here. I will speak about the depth that I have this at momentarily. So it's just a matter of running them through. Just like that, and I'll run all these one at a time until I get them all pierced. Well, all the holes have been pierced on the top, so I flipped it over, you know, and you'll have a little bit of blowout, so I'm just taking a sharp chisel and just knocking it off. Just takes a second. Now there won't be anything to interfere with the fit. Okay, the side pieces with the holes in them, I'm coming in 3/4 inches from each end and 3/8 in. And I'll pierce these 4 holes and this one will be ready to go. that's it. Alright, well part 10 has been glued up, both parts together. I'm actually going to change its dimension, and this is going to be 1 3/16 wide. So I'll run it through my saw a little over halfway, and then I'll flip it over and I'll run the other side. Okay, well I've done a couple things here. This is the piece I just cut down to 1 3/16. So that's going to fit behind the front piece, similar to this right here. Now I've laid out some screws that I'm going to put in here. I'm going to countersink all these holes. Now from each end they come in 1 1/4 inches. Here, 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 and here. From the top down, it comes down 1 1/4 on all 3 of these points. And from the bottom up, it comes up 1 inch to these 3 marks. Now the ones down the center are 6 1/2 inches, which is just the middle of this. So these will be countersunk, and then these 2 items will be screwed together. One thing that I did do as well is, hopefully you can see, I've made a mark in the center of both pieces. These are going to line up, and that is going to give me about 1/2 inch on either side, here and here. Now I've changed my mind. I've decided I'm not going to glue any of this at all. I'm going to have enough fasteners in it that it will be secure and stable, but I can still yet break it down if I need to for any reason in the future. Alright, well I already screwed these 2 pieces together, but I failed to put on 4 more holes. It's not going to be a problem, but I needed to mark my layout on this and note that. Starting in from this side here, it comes in 5/8, and it also comes in 3 5/8, and they're 3/8 of an inch down from this edge right here. Same thing from the other side, 5/8 in, 3 5/8 in, 3/8 down.